This award is for the best performance by a child actor or actress during the year 1949. It goes to the little boy whose performance in The Window and So Dear to My Heart enchanted moviegoers and critics alike, Bobby Driscoll. Bobby?
Hollywood has given us stars who burned brilliantly, yet far too many of them left this world long before their time. Here are 20 legendary actors who died young, their lives brief, but their impact on cinema will never fade. Number 1. Heather O'Rourke. Heather O'Rourke, the child star of Poltergeist, became an instant horror icon with just one haunting line: "They're here." But behind that bright, angelic face was a medical tragedy no one saw coming. In the final months of her life, Heather suffered constant stomach pain, swelling in her face, and overwhelming fatigue. Yet doctors repeatedly misdiagnosed her, insisting it was nothing more than a mild intestinal issue or the flu. On the morning of the 1st of February 1988, Heather went into sudden cardiac arrest on the way to the hospital. She died just hours later. An emergency surgery revealed the heartbreaking truth. She had a congenital intestinal defect that had been missed for all 12 years of her life, leading to a severe infection and septic shock. Heather passed away at just 12 years old, right as Poltergeist III was about to be released, forever tying her death to the chilling legend known as the Poltergeist curse. Number 2. Jenny Maxwell. Jenny Maxwell, the bright-eyed actress who appeared in Blue Denim, The Twilight Zone, and 77 Sunset Strip, was once considered one of Hollywood's most promising young faces. Born in Germany to Holocaust survivors, she came to America and spent a brief but memorable few years under the spotlight before leaving acting to focus on her family. But Jenny's life came to a mysterious and violent end on the 10th of July 1981. She was shot to death in the lobby of her Los Angeles apartment building, originally reported as a botched robbery. Investigators quickly sensed something was wrong. Nothing was stolen. Her jewelry remained untouched, and there were no signs of a struggle. From that point on, they suspected it wasn't a robbery at all, but a targeted hit. Later reports even suggested the attack may have been connected to financial troubles and complicated relationships involving her husband. Jenny died at 39 quietly, with countless unanswered questions leaving behind the sorrowful image of a once bright star pulled into a bloody mystery Hollywood has never fully solved. Number 3. Sal Mineo. Sal Mineo was once one of Hollywood's teen idols, best known for playing Plato in Rebel Without a Cause, alongside James Dean. After his peak years, he shifted to theater and was on the verge of a major comeback with several promising projects. But on the night of the 12th of February 1976, tragedy struck. Mineo had just pulled into the parking area near his West Hollywood apartment when he was stabbed once, fatally collapsing just steps from his front door. At first, police treated it as a robbery gone wrong. It wasn't until a year and a half later that they arrested the killer, Lionel Ray Williams, and the most shocking part was this: he had absolutely no idea who Sal Mineo was. Williams was a drifter with a criminal record, acting at random, yet he ended up taking the life of a talented actor who was finally finding his way back to the spotlight. That senseless, brutal death stunned Hollywood and remains one of the most heartbreaking tragedies in the history of stars gone too soon. Number 4. Brittany Murphy. Brittany Murphy, the young star of Clueless, 8 Mile, and Just Married, was one of Hollywood's brightest faces in the early 2000s. But just as her career was reaching a new high, tragedy struck without warning. By late 2009, Brittany began appearing alarmingly thin, pale, and almost exhausted. Colleagues said she often looked drained, struggled to breathe, and lacked the spark she was once known for. Yet instead of receiving proper medical care, she was treated only with cold medicine and various prescriptions at home. On the 20th of December 2009, Brittany suddenly collapsed in her bathroom and was rushed to the hospital. But it was too late. She died from acute pneumonia, compounded by severe anemia and multiple medications found in her system. An unusually tragic end for a woman who was only 32. Number 5. Marilyn Monroe. Marilyn Monroe, Hollywood's eternal symbol of beauty and allure, captivated the world with Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, The 7-Year Itch, and Some Like It Hot. But behind that dazzling smile was a life filled with turmoil. Depression, insomnia, crushing fame, and turbulent relationships. On the night of the 5th of August 1962, Marilyn was found unresponsive in the bedroom of her Brentwood home. The official ruling: an overdose of barbiturate sedatives. But her death quickly became a mystery when the autopsy report revealed troubling inconsistencies. No pills in her stomach despite extremely high levels in her blood, an unclear method of ingestion, and scene details that didn't match a typical overdose. All of it raised the same haunting question: was it an accident, suicide, or a truth the world was never meant to hear? Marilyn died at 36, brilliant, lonely, and forever one of Hollywood's most tragic icons. Number 6. Anna Nicole Smith. Anna Nicole Smith was one of the defining bombshells of the 1990 seconds, rising to fame through Playboy and her reality TV appearances. Her life was always surrounded by glamour, scandal, and her highly publicized marriage to billionaire J. Howard Marshall. But behind the spotlight was a woman battling addiction and a mother crushed by grief. Just months before her death, Anna Nicole fell into complete despair when her 20-year-old son died beside her in a hospital room. On the 8th of February 2007, she was found unresponsive in her Florida hotel suite. Investigators ruled her death an overdose of prescription medications, but her body contained 9 different drugs, a dangerous combination that ultimately took her life. Anna Nicole Smith died at 39, a tragic end that echoed the fate of the icon she had always admired, Marilyn Monroe. Number 7. Adrienne Ames. Adrienne Ames was once an emblem of 1930 Hollywood elegance, known for her refined beauty and sharp presence in films like The Nightclub Lady. When her film career slowed, she transitioned into radio, quickly becoming one of the most beloved voices on the air. But few knew that behind that graceful image was a long, private battle with cancer. In the final months of her life, her condition worsened to the point where she could no longer walk, forcing her to be hospitalized in New York, a facility reserved for critically ill patients. Even in pain, Ames held on to her sense of dignity, applying light makeup every day as if it were her last thread of elegance. On the 31st of March 1947, Adrienne Ames passed away quietly at age 39. Her death, solitary, soft as a sigh in a hospital far from Hollywood, stood in stark contrast to the bright lights she once commanded. Number 8. Jane Mansfield. Jane Mansfield, the ultimate blonde bombshell of the 50 seconds and 60 seconds, was often seen as Marilyn Monroe's greatest rival. She captivated Hollywood with her explosive beauty, bold persona, and charming comedic roles that audiences simply couldn't look away from. But in the early morning hours of the 29th of June, 1967, tragedy struck. The car carrying Mansfield slammed into the back of a tractor-trailer on a Louisiana highway. She died instantly at just 34, in a horrific accident that sent shockwaves through Hollywood. Miraculously, her 3 children seated in the back all survived, including Mariska Hargitay, who would later become a star on Law & Order SVU. Jane Mansfield's death left behind countless rumors, legends, and controversies, becoming one of the darkest and most haunting chapters in Hollywood's history. Number 9. Robert Walker. Robert Walker, the gifted Hollywood actor best known for his chilling performance as Bruno Anthony in Strangers on a Train, found success on screen, but his personal life was deeply troubled. He battled alcoholism and severe psychological struggles after his marriage to actress Jennifer Jones fell apart. On the night of the 28th of August, 1951, during a panic episode, Walker's personal physician injected him with a powerful sedative to calm him down. But just minutes later, he stopped breathing, a sudden, fatal reaction to the psychiatric medication. Although the official report labeled his death a medical accident, Walker's mother and friends never accepted that explanation. It happened too fast, too strangely, leaving them to wonder whether the dosage was too strong, or whether the sedative reacted dangerously with alcohol he had consumed earlier. Walker died at only 32, just as his career was beginning to rise again after the role of his life, leaving behind a legacy of brilliance cut short by tragedy and a cloud of unanswered questions. Number 10. Sharon Tate. Sharon Tate, one of Hollywood's brightest rising stars, died in one of the most haunting tragedies in entertainment history. On the night of the 8th of August 1969, while 8.5 months pregnant and preparing a small birthday gathering at her home, Sharon had no idea danger was closing in. Within minutes, a group of intruders broke in and launched a brutal attack. Sharon begged desperately for her life and for the chance to save her unborn child, but she was murdered in her own home with shocking cruelty. She was just 26, at a moment when her career, her marriage, and the joy of expecting her first child were all reaching their peak. The death of Sharon Tate remains one of Hollywood's most heartbreaking tragedies. A young star, on the verge of a beautiful new chapter, robbed of everything in an instant. Number 11. Bobby Driscoll. Bobby Driscoll was once Disney's golden boy, famous for voicing Peter Pan and becoming the studio's first child star to win a juvenile Oscar. But as he grew older, Hollywood no longer had a place for his innocent image. Rejected for roles, unemployed, and increasingly isolated, Driscoll slipped into drug addiction. By March 1968, he was found dead in an abandoned building in New York's East Village. The cause was heart failure linked to long-term drug abuse. The most heartbreaking part, his body lay there for over a year with no one searching for him, no one recognizing him, and no missing person report filed. With no identification on him, he was buried in a pauper's grave, an unmarked resting place for the unknown. It wasn't until years later, when his mother asked police to compare fingerprints, that they confirmed the truth. The person in that unmarked grave was Bobby Driscoll, the real-life Peter Pan, forgotten by Hollywood at just 31. Number 12. Thelma Todd. Thelma Todd was a beloved comedic actress of 1,930 Seconds Hollywood, known for her charming girl-next-door style and more than 120 film appearances. But behind the glamour, her life was tangled in complicated romances and even rumored connections to organized crime. On the 16th of December, 1935, Todd was found dead in a friend's garage, with the official ruling being carbon monoxide poisoning. But what made the case so mysterious was the scene itself. She was found sitting upright in the driver's seat, lips purple, body ice-cold yet with no signs of struggle, no injuries, nothing disturbed. It was a scene far too clean, far too quiet, prompting many to question whether it was truly an accident. No one knows whether Todd accidentally locked herself inside the garage and succumbed to the fumes, or whether someone else put her there. Conflicting witness statements, whispers of the mafia, and controversies surrounding her relationships turned Thelma Todd's death into one of Hollywood's most enduring mysteries, one that remains unsolved to this day. Number 13. Jean Harlow. Jean Harlow, Hollywood's original platinum blonde bombshell, was one of the brightest stars of the 1,930 Seconds, celebrated for her iconic beauty and unforgettable roles in Dinner at 8 and Red Dust. But at the height of her fame, her health suddenly collapsed. Harlow began experiencing severe pain on set, along with constant vomiting, exhaustion, and a pale, swollen face. Yet her symptoms were largely dismissed until she was finally rushed to the hospital. By then, it was too late. Her kidneys were failing almost completely, a case of acute renal failure that doctors could not reverse. She died just a few days later, at only 26, leaving Hollywood in shock. Jean Harlow's death became one of the most heartbreaking tragedies of the Golden Age, a brilliant star cut down by fate in the most radiant moment of her life. Number 14. Russ Columbo. Russ Columbo was one of the most romantic singers and leading men of the early 1,930 Seconds, a rising star often seen as Bing Crosby's greatest potential rival, thanks to his silky voice and undeniable charm. But just as his career was soaring, a freak tragedy cut everything short. On the 2nd of September 1934, Columbo was visiting his close friend Lansing Brown when a decorative antique gun suddenly went off. No one knew it was still functional, but a tiny spark was enough to set it firing. The bullet ricocheted off a table and shot straight into Columbo's eye, killing him instantly. Russ Columbo's death at just 26 became one of the strangest and most heartbreaking accidents of early Hollywood, ending the life of a talent who seemed just moments away from true stardom. Number 15. Olive Thomas. Olive Thomas was one of the brightest silent film stars of the early 20th century, known for her youthful beauty and her role in The Flapper. At the height of her fame, she was considered Hollywood's very first it girl. In September 1920, while in Paris with her husband, tragedy struck. Returning to their hotel in the early hours of the morning, Olive walked into the bathroom in the dark and accidentally drank a solution of mercuric bichloride, a highly toxic substance meant only for external use. The poison ravaged her body almost immediately, and she died just a few days later at the age of 25. Olive Thomas's death became one of the earliest tragedies to shake Hollywood, marking the beginning of the legend of the cursed or ill-fated stars of cinema's golden age. Number 16. Dorothy Stratten. Dorothy Stratten, a rising Playboy model and promising young actress, was on the brink of breaking into major Hollywood roles when tragedy struck. On the 14th of August 1980, she went to meet her estranged husband, Paul Snider, to talk about the divorce. But within minutes, he shot her at point-blank range, then turned the gun on himself. The murder-suicide sent shockwaves through Hollywood. A 20-year-old woman, just beginning to taste success, killed by the very man who had once discovered her. Dorothy's death became a devastating example of possessive violence, and one of the darkest reminders of the shadows that hide behind Hollywood's bright lights. Number 17. Dorothy Dell. Dorothy Dell was one of Paramount's most promising young actresses, gaining attention for her role in Wharf Angel and preparing to take on the biggest part of her career. But just as the spotlight was beginning to shine on her, tragedy struck. On the 8th of June 1934, Dorothy died in a car crash when a vehicle driven by a friend, reportedly drunk, veered off the road with devastating force. The impact was so violent that police couldn't even determine the car's speed. The front end was crushed beyond recognition. Dorothy was killed instantly. She was only 19. Her death stunned Hollywood, and Paramount was forced to halt the film project she was working on, a bitter full stop to a talent that had barely begun to bloom. Number 18. Dominique Dunne. Dominique Dunne, the young actress from Poltergeist, was just beginning to rise in her career when tragedy struck. On the night of the 30th of October 1982, she was ambushed outside her home by her ex-boyfriend, John Sweeney, who strangled her for several minutes. Neighbors heard the commotion but assumed a film scene was being shot. Dominique was rushed to the hospital in a coma and was declared brain dead 5 days later. In their grief, her family made the heartbreaking decision to donate her organs, saving 3 other lives. The case shocked Hollywood when her killer received only a few years in prison, one of the most infuriatingly lenient sentences in the industry's history. Number 19. Brandon Lee. Brandon Lee, son of the legendary Bruce Lee, was on the verge of becoming Hollywood's next major action star while filming The Crow. But on the 31st of March 1993, tragedy struck during a gunfight scene. A fragment of a real bullet, left inside a prop gun by mistake, was fired and pierced Brandon's abdomen. He was rushed into surgery but didn't survive. He died at just 28. What made the tragedy even more heartbreaking was this. Brandon was planning to get married right after filming wrapped. Invitations had been sent. The wedding was only weeks away. Brandon Lee's death remains one of the most haunting on-set accidents in Hollywood history, cutting short a life, a career, and a happiness he was just steps away from reaching. And that brings us to the end of the stories of 20 ill-fated actors, stars who burned out far too soon, yet whose light still lingers. Now it's your turn. Which one moved you the most, or stayed with you long after hearing it? Share your thoughts below. I truly love reading every comment. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you won't miss any of my future dives into old Hollywood. Thank you for watching all the way to the end. See you in the next video.